Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's great debate here. I thought we'd have a kind of an open lines discussion just to talk about some things tonight that I feel that are very important to discuss. Namely, just the lies and half-truths that come up on Discord every now and then. I think this is about time that we actually sit down together as a community and discuss these things. So, just a little backstory of what brought this up tonight is I had a busy day, and I decided to come on to Discord and check the messages like I usually do, just to see what people are talking about. And I happened to come across a very disturbing message sent by a Professor Brainy Specs, I believe his name is. Give me 1 second here to pull this up, because I don't want to misquote him. We want to make sure everything is quoted, accurately here. So he came on and decided to once again completely and utterly harass me on Discord, because that's just something he does. And say, Cinnabon, I am making sure that you have the recommended amount of blah 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 today. And then he follows up this slanderous, ridiculous message with 999,999 out of 1 million scientists agree and don't fight the scientists. Now, I immediately found this statement to be a little bit ridiculous. There is no way that there is actually 1 million scientists. And to prove this, I said more lies. There isn't 1 million scientists. And immediately, the professor can't just take my word for it as a, everyone that knows me knows that I am a scholar of all things science, as well as history, art, pretty much everything. I am what you would call a advanced Rhodes Scholar, as everyone that knows me knows. You don't get to be as successful as I am with over 7 million subscribers, not being a genius. But he writes back to me, you believe there isn't at least 0.0123% of the population that are scientists. Wow, you really do deny science, don't you? Now, obviously, I think that's a little ridiculous. He's seriously just pulling this number out of his ass, because there's no way in hell the so-called professor went out and actually counted every single person on the planet and then also surveyed them to find out if they're a scientist or not, to come up with this ridiculous percentage. So, I mean, come on, right there, that just kind of, it's a little suspicious, if you ask me. So I come back with, prove it, name them. And instead of naming these so-called 1 million scientists, he comes back with, I don't have to, the facts back me up. Now, I don't know what facts he's talking about. I'm assuming he's talking about this suspicious percentage that he just came up with. And he said, and actually he does say, I question him on this. I say, oh, and the 0.0123%, yeah, okay. Now you want me to believe you counted every person on Earth. So, I mean, I think I'm making some pretty good arguments at this point, just to prove that he's just making things up. And, alright. Thank you very much to... Okay, give me 1 second. I am actually not at all set up. But thank you very much for the donation of... give me 1 second, I'll pull that up in just a minute. If I was ready for that, I would have this set up already. But obviously, I was so flustered by the things that I was hearing on Discord. I just didn't have my dashboard set up. So I do apologize for that. But we'll go over to this page here just to take a look here. Everyone else saw it on the screen. Unfortunately, my screen is not set up correctly once again because, you know, like I said, I'm sorry, but I was just very flustered today after having this argument in Discord. But thank you very much to the Library Guild for donating $1. Do meta, blah blah. See, I don't even know what that means, and why the Library Guild would be donating to me is very suspicious as well. You can't buy me off, library. We've discussed this. I'm not for sale. I don't just take donations, and I'm not going to be. I will not be drawn to the dark side. But all right, so let's get back to the. I do appreciate the $1 though. I will use that to put towards the fund to feed hungry children in Iowa. So after I questioned this so-called professor, who, by the way, I invited on to debate me on this topic, and he was clearly afraid to do so. But once I get through the introduction here of what we're talking about, I will put the link out again, and if anybody wants to debate me on the subject, you're more than welcome to come up, especially this so-called librarian. He comes back with an article from a place called Science Business, which the headline is "Number of scientists worldwide reaches 8.8 million as global research spending, blah blah blah." Now, obviously, I'm a little suspicious about this anyway. This is obviously a puff piece for big science to acquire more funding for all these so-called scientists out there. And so I basically told the professor that, you know, you can't believe everything you read on the internet, you know, and I said, wow, because I mean, that's just shocking that somebody who is a librarian and so works in a so-called research department would just believe the first thing he reads online. I'm at a loss for words at that kind of just intellectual laziness. Then once again, I asked him, did you count each one and try to verify this count? And I think not. And at this point, the professor started getting a little belligerent. He said, "I don't see you backing up your sources, Mr. Bunny." Oh, forgive me. Sources and quotes. He had to use the quotes because, you know, it wasn't enough to slam me. He had to, you know, put quotes around the word sources just to drive the stake into my heart a little bit more. And says, I have to use quotation marks, unnamed documented sources. I don't even know what that means. I mean, he's now, at this point, he's just making wild claims just to try and discredit me, obviously. So my answer to that was, I don't have to. You're the one making wild claims that there's 1 million scientists, but can't even name them. And I think that's reasonable. I asked him twice to name these 1 million scientists, and he couldn't name one. Couldn't name one. Not one. Sorry. Let's just brush past that for a minute and go to the professor's answer to that. He says, I don't need to. Well, of course you do. If you're going to make this wild claim that there's 1 million scientists out there, yeah, I think you need to at least name a few of them, at least a meaningful fraction. So, I mean, I don't know. So, you know what? I decided, okay, maybe I'm riding the professor a little too hard. Maybe I need to just take it back a little bit and you know, make it a little bit easier for him. So I said, okay, I'll make it easy on you. Name 100,000 scientists, which is a very reasonable thing to do. It's just a fraction of the 1 million scientists I asked him to name again. And then he comes back immediately with, again, I don't have to. I don't have to. You do have to, sir. If you're going to make these kind of claims on the internet, where all these impressionable minds on this Discord channel could believe these outright lies, then yeah, you need to back up your claims with some actual evidence. And I just said because you can't. Because why? Because they don't exist. Because we know they don't exist. No one can name 1 million scientists. And I challenge anybody at all, to come up here and prove me wrong tonight and prove that there are 1 million scientists. And I don't think anybody can. So with that, that is the basis of our discussion this evening. If anyone really wants to come on and try to defend this ridiculous statement that there's 1 million scientists out there, feel free to come on and prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'm going to tell you that there are probably, maybe, and I'm being generous here, about a dozen scientists in the world, and most of them are dead, unfortunately. So I mean, if you think differently, go ahead and come up here, and we'll start naming scientists, and you can prove me wrong that there are indeed more than about maybe a dozen. And you know what? If we take out the dead ones, probably about a half dozen. But I don't think anyone will, because I don't think anybody has the academic fortitude or the courage to come on and defend the indefensible. Other than that, we'll take a quick break here and say hello to the chat. Professor Brainy Specs was here early, trying to claim that I was late, even though I did not schedule a time for this to start. I told him we would be starting, as soon as my pizza of truth was done cooking, and once it was done cooking, we did come on. So we are on time. We're not late. Mr. Londell, welcome. He said he was shocked that there was such discord on a Discord server, which honestly I'm a little bit shocked myself, because Discord is a place where we're all supposed to come together and show love to one another, not engage in ridiculous claims and try to pass off ridiculous lies as truth, and not have any kind of facts to back up what they're saying. Hello to LDG. What's going on? Well, you just heard what's going on. I have to deal with just nonstop half-truths from somebody that claims to be a researcher. It's ridiculous. And hello to Captain Fandom, Jedi Bill, welcome. Bird of Prey is here. Hello to Thomas Potts and Tokyo Gaijin, welcome. Tokyo says he'll probably jump on when he gets to the office, since he'll have time. If you're out driving, drive safely. In fact, if you are out driving, I just want you to. The introduction to this stream was a little intense, so in fact, everyone listening, I think you should probably all just go ahead and close your eyes for a minute. If you're driving, go ahead and take your hands off the wheel, get yourself centered, and we'll take a minute of just silence as we just kind of get ourselves a little calmed down, because I did get a little heated in the beginning of this, so I do apologize. Mr. Lundell says, you're both wrong. According to estimates, there are 8.8 million scientists worldwide. Yeah, okay. What are you doing? Are you asking an AI that question? Really, Mr. Lundell? You're gonna try and come here and claim that there's 8.8 million scientists. I challenge you to name them right now. Come on, name all 8.8 million if you're so sure that they exist. And Thomas Potts says, no, Mr. Londell, Cinnabon uses his brain to think. Exactly. I use that squishy gray matter between my ears to critically think and do proper research for when I actually are going to make claims about things. Unfortunately, everyone else just seems to go to TikTok to get their facts and just decide to go with what's trending lately. And it's really a sad state of our society. And I'm really worried about humanity's future. So we're still waiting. It doesn't seem like anybody is willing to show courage and strength of character to be able to come and debate me on this subject. While we're waiting, I guess we can also take a look and see what other lies and mistruths are going on this horrible Discord channel. Albert Einstein, Yvette Duvall, Neil Bohr. Okay, that's literally four. That's not 8.8 million. That's four. And like I said, one of them's dead. Is Neil Bohr still alive? I don't think he is. So you've named two. Oppenheimer also dead. Welcome to Bird of Prey
Hello
5,
world.
who has the courage and fortitude to stand up to my massive intellect. Welcome, Bird of
Well,
Prey.
hello world. It's Bird of Prey 5, Cuplock. Um, I figured I'd help you out, or I'd help, I don't know, I guess your opponents out,
Well, what do you
by
think?
naming the scientists that I know. And so that'll start counting to the, and I believe you are reasonable to ask for like 10%. You know, you're very reasonable request. So,
I felt that was a very reasonable request. I mean, if you're gonna
um,
make the wild claim that there's over a million scientists, you should at least be able to name 10%. I think.
I think so, but obviously for one person to know all the scientists, it's hard. So I'll just name the ones I know,
Okay.
and then other people can come on and you can add it all up. I'm sure.
That
You know,
seems like a fair compromise. We'll go
a
with
fair
that.
compromise. So there was this one woman in one of my classes. Remember, I was engineer, so we had a lot of back and forth between science and engineering. So she graduated with an engineering degree, but she went to work as a scientist at the National Laboratory in Bethpage, Long Island. And they've got a nuclear reactor there. So it's pretty cool. So she was one. She was pretty cute too. So she was like a, I don't know,
Well, if she was cute, we
like
can count her as two.
she was like a 6,
All right, we can count her as
which,
two then. I mean, that's fair.
okay. And then there was another woman who was an engineer, and she ended up getting a teaching degree as a scientist uh, in Pennsylvania, and she was super. She was like an 8 or a 9. So I
That's
don't know if you
interesting.
want to count her as 2.5,
Two,
but
two and a half, three. You know what?
yeah,
I'll be generous and go with three. So we got five
okay.
scientists so far.
I got 5 scientists. That's all I got.
See, I mean, that's something's a little off with that though. The two you named are both women. I think
Yeah, it's
may
weird. I can't think of any guys.
yeah, it's a little strange. And we know there's not 8.8 million women on the planet
Mm,
or billion. Sorry.
I think there were in China.
And Mr.
Different part
Lundell
of the
is just
planet.
putting a wall of text into the chat naming so-called scientists, which is fine, but I mean we're still not anywhere near 1.1, 1 point whatever million that the professor was claiming. So I mean, if we can't get to 100,000 tonight, and we have to make sure that these people are still alive too, then I think we can pretty much guarantee that that number's a lie, and there's just not 1 million scientists in the world. 25 all are living. But let's see, 25 is still not 1 million for Mr. Lundell. We're a little bit off on our numbers here. Yeah, I mean, you understand 25 is nowhere near 1 million. There's quite a big range there. I just have to assume that's the public school speaking. I don't mean to disparage public schools, but when you're like me, who was brought up on Ivy League private schools all their life, um, I just naturally look down on the little people. And hello
Well,
to
also, you're
Omnicast,
Asian.
who says hello
So,
to me and Osteopray.
boy,
The pizza I made is actually fully cooked. Yes. I checked it with a not only a temperature gun, but 16 different types of thermometers just to make sure the internal temperature was exactly 145 degrees, and and I also used a very scientific uh, device called the Crust Crisper uh, authenticator just to make sure the crust was at a acceptable crispiness level. I think that's the scientific term for that.
I think you should have hired a scientist so that you could get your StreamYard working so that your comments would be in your StreamYard and wouldn't have to flip to YouTube to read comments.
I could. I probably should, but I mean, as
Yeah, 'cause
we've
it's
learned
hard
today,
to
that
get
they're
the
hard to
scientists
find.
with
They're
so
just really
few.
hard to find.
Yeah. They're probably all working on that bridge right now.
I mean, if there were as many scientists as Mr. Lundell and as the professor claimed there are, would there have been a bridge collapse? You would think 1 out of 1 million would have actually thought of some better structural engineering for those piers.
What the hell is Brian Greene doing? Just a name I took out randomly from Mr. Lundell's list. I mean, economics, that's not even a science.
Oh no, that's not science. That's
So there, look, already one debunked.
I mean, I
Mr.
wasn't even
Lundell.
quite looking at the list here because it was just so long. But I mean, psychology that's not science.
No,
That's pseudoscience. Nothing ever good has come from psychology.
oceanography,
What's that? Come on.
mathematics, that's not science.
Yeah, that's mathematics is a process, not a science. So I mean, we've debunked several of these already. Scientists don't build bridges, engineers do, so blame Bird. I don't think that's fair. I think that scientists should be there to come up with the correct equations for things like lateral stability. No?
Very important.
Concrete chemistry. I mean, that's important. So once again, Mr. Lundell, we've just debunked your argument that scientists don't build bridges. Engineers are there to make sure that the scientists do their work correctly. I mean, there's a hierarchy to things. There's scientists at the bottom, and then the engineers at the top that overlook and direct things. They're the foremen of bridge building, I believe.
Right, to be completely fair, librarians are at the bottom.
Well, that's true. Researchers, librarians, researchers, then scientists probably. I sound like a flat earther. I believe that this world is round. It's a round world surrounded by a great ice shield in space because it's so cold up there. I mean, the water's going to freeze. So, what can I say? Not a flat earther. A spherical earther. Thomas says only 80% of bridges built by Bird collapsed from a bicycle. Well, that's a 20% success rate.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look on the bright side of things. You can't always look at the negative. I mean, if you only looked at the negative, nothing would get done in this world. I'm still waiting for a logical argument here and proof that a million scientists exist. And I just haven't seen it yet. So I guess we can probably conclude that I'm right, the professor's wrong. He was invited here to debate his position, and he was afraid. That's the only thing. That's the only excuse I can think of is that he feared my intellect and ran. Not Ryan Johnson is here. Welcome. He says there's only one engineer, and his name is Miles O'Brien. Unfortunately, not Ryan Johnson. Miles O'Brien isn't real. We can't count him as a real engineer, unfortunately. I know that makes some people very sad, and it probably shocks a lot of people that Star Trek isn't real. But unfortunately, I have to break the truth to you guys that
It also means we can't count Spock as a scientist.
Exactly. I mean, we're only counting real people here. Greetings to Omnicast, if that is the real Omnicast. Please don't show me your junk.
Yeah, a second here. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent. Okay, sorry.
So would you like to weigh in on this topic tonight?
I just wanted to know what's the beef. What's the beef about?
Professor was in Discord this morning, this afternoon. I don't know what time it was exactly. I didn't look at the timestamp, but he was claiming that there are so-called 1 million scientists in the world. Mm-hmm. And I asked him to name them, and he couldn't name one. So I made it easy on him. I said, name 100,000. He still couldn't do that. So I maintain that there are not 1 million scientists in this world. Maybe a dozen.
Well, let's go back to basics. How many people are there in the world to begin with? What, 330 billion or something, right? What is it? Million?
If there's 330 billion people on the planet, I think that might be a little high. But
is that high?
I haven't counted every single person. That was another thing that we had a discussion with the professor, was that he was trying to claim population numbers, and I asked if he went out and counted every single person, and he couldn't. He said he didn't even do that.
Data. You want empirical data.
Well, exactly. I mean, if you're going to make wild claims such as his, you have to come to the argument with empirical data. But we'll humor him. We'll say that there's 8 billion people on the planet.
I had my biggest live stream back when I did Game of Thrones finale. Had like, I forget, like 2,100 or 21,000. It was a crazy number. So let's average it and say 10,000 people.
That sounds about right. I mean,
and like pretty much everybody watched Game of Thrones finale. I'd say, let's say 50% of the world. So I think we can easily say there's 20,000+ confirmed people.
Exactly. Finally, someone comes here with some sound logic. Thank you, Bird.
So there's 330 million people. I just fact checked myself in the U.S., not billion, million, and in the world there's 8 billion or so people.
Can we trust those numbers though? Can we?
What's that?
Can we really trust those numbers?
Well, I mean, this is what's available to us. It could be fake, but let's assume for the moment it's real. What percentage of, let's just take the U.S., what percentage of adults are scientists or go into science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM? You figure, what, maybe 5 to 10%, if that, right?
Well, I would say maybe there's about 5 or 10 people that actually go into those programs, but we'll go with
I think a lot more go into engineering and math,
right?
And the T, E, and M.
STEM, right? Technology, engineering, and math, and the S stands for science.
Yeah, very few, I think, go into the S.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
And most of them, I think, are the hot women.
Yeah, well, we kind of established that.
So 330 million. You figure about half of those are available to work. Maybe the rest are probably too young or too old, and then maybe 10% of those, and maybe half of those. So yeah, so talking about maybe a couple 100,000, let's just say, throughout the country. Does that sound about right? Throughout the U.S. I don't know about the world. But let's just say it's a couple 100,000 science, technology, engineering, and math people throughout the U.S. Maybe 400, 300,000, I should say,
Okay.
total. And your question is what? Scientists? How many of
Yes.
those are scientists?
How many actual scientists are on the planet?
All right. I'm taking the U.S. So let's, I don't know, 500,000? Round it
Yeah,
up
but
a bit?
I mean, all right. So I mean, can we name
700,000?
like at least one? Well, can you name 1% of them?
No.
See,
No. I
that's
mean,
that's the problem. I mean, if you can't name
famous
them,
scientists.
then how do
Because
we
they,
know that they actually exist?
but I'm not in that field. I'm not. So if I was in the science field, whether it be scholarly, like an academic, or perhaps applied sciences, I probably would know some notable people. We're not in that field. We're lay people, right?
Well,
We're
speak for
laymen.
yourself, now.
I knew
Speak
I
for
knew a
yourself.
couple people.
I mean, you had some notable ones over the years, Albert Einstein, and and the like, right? And
Yeah, but they're all
Oppenheimer,
dead.
and,
I
yeah.
maintain that most of the scientists have already died.
Okay.
But I mean, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But we have to
Numbers.
really be suspect about these numbers. Are they actual
Okay.
real people enrolling into these so-called STEM programs, or are these fake numbers by big government and big college to shovel funding into these programs to enrich these professors, these so-called professors that
Right.
teach these classes? I mean, has anyone actually been to a college science class? Do they exist?
I mean, I did when I graduated. I had to take labs and what have you, and biology and other things. I mean, they were there. That was 20
Interesting.
some odd years ago. When I went to
Interesting.
college, and maybe they don't do
20
it
years
anymore, but I
ago.
think they used to. Yeah.
20 years ago. That's
Yeah.
That
important.
was 25 years ago for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not seen a science class in the last, we'll say, 10 years.
There's not enough scientists being generated, though. At least in this U.S. I can't speak for the world, but in the U.S., there's not enough graduates in the STEM world, and most of them are men. They're not women. Very few women choose STEM as their profession, as their major, and even in the men, it's just not enough people going into those fields.
And
Everyone's graduating with humanities degrees and liberal arts or the arts and this and that. It's not about science and
mm,
technology. A lot of them end up in academia, but some of them end up working for companies too. Working for
okay.
big companies doing research and what have you. But you know, there are scientists. I believe they do exist. You're looking for notable ones.
I
And
do hear
I'm
I
not
do hear what you're
right.
saying, but
No,
Yeah.
he's looking for any of them.
any of them,
Right.
yes.
Don't have to be notable.
Okay.
Because when we ask the question, name all the scientists, we only get usually 5 or 6 answers. So I maintain that maybe, and most of them are dead, like I said. So I say that
Right.
maybe if we count all the dead scientists, probably about a dozen. If we get rid of all the dead scientists, probably about 6 of them left in the world. They're an endangered species. But I just want to go back to the a comment you made that most women don't enter the STEM program. I think that could possibly be the patriarchy speaking, because just from talking to Bird earlier, he named 2.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm talking general statistics. I know for a fact there's just not enough coming out proportionally out of our colleges and universities in the U.S.
Not
Women
enough
don't
compared
they
to
don't
what?
graduate compared to other fields. Like a lot of women are enrolled in colleges and universities, but they
Why?
don't choose STEM. They
Why do
don't
we need
choose.
more scientists?
That's a
Why do
good
we need more
question.
scientists or female
Like
scientists? What
what?
do you ask?
Either way,
Okay. Well, we have to progress as a society, right? Science just can't stop. We can't stop learning about our world and about the physics of the world, chemistry, products, technology. I mean, it all comes from science and engineering.
but
We
isn't
can't just
Well,
there
I
abandon it.
mean,
eventually they're going to figure out everything there is to know, right?
exactly.
I think. Well, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but if I'm sure it's possible down the road.
So
You know.
you're trying to you're asserting that Joe bus driver
Hmm.
just is going to remain stupid for his entire life because there's no scientists? I mean, I think that the bus driver man is probably going to be able to figure things out on his own.
Scientists will develop things that make the bus driver's life easier and safer and more convenient. You know, the technology, for example, the mobile phone I'm using right now to join you on a stream. I mean, that was developed by scientists and engineers,
Are you
right?
sure?
Let's just call it. Well, I mean, it wasn't developed by a guy in his garage, was it?
Engineers and scientists are different things.
Okay, so I'll say, okay, so science. You're talking about like chemists, right? Chemistry. What else would you consider science? Like rocket science,
Oh,
biology,
yeah, I would
neuroscience,
consider
right?
the
Medical
so-called
science.
chemistry,
Okay.
this thing that they like to call physics. Um, what else would there be? I think that's the only two branches of
Well, there's
science.
medical science, right?
Biology.
Biology,
Yeah, I
right?
guess biology falls under science too. Those are just three branches of science, I
There's
guess.
probably horticulture, you know, something with plant life and things
That's
I would consider that.
biology.
Okay, that would be considered a science. It's the study of bugs, the study of birds. I mean, those are all different types of sciences, right?
Well, I mean, can we really count bug studying? I mean, really, who cares? Does anyone need to really know about bugs? I mean, besides the fact that they're
It's more
creepy and,
more for
and
a
they squish
hobby.
easily.
It's more of a hobby.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Those people who like to stick pins through bugs and put them up on their like action figures or something.
I mean, I think a lot of these so-called science fields are just ways to get government funding to enrich these people's lives. I mean, what did we really
It's
learn
all, it's
from
all about the Benjamins, all about the
yeah,
money.
exactly.
Yeah, chemical science, like the develop of plastics and different kind of polymers and chemicals. These things affect our lives. You need scientists to develop those things.
Yeah,
Different formulations
scientists
for fuel,
created
gasoline.
Agent Orange
Yeah, well, okay, you can
and
take it that way, but yeah,
and
yeah.
Well,
So
I mean,
yeah,
even if
aspartame.
you look at chemistry, most of the things like plastics and like silly putty, things like that, created by accident, completely by accident. So we didn't really need a scientist for that. We just needed some dude to make a mistake.
That's right. The person who X-rays and radar or microwave.
and a lot of these scientists live in academia. You know, they graduate school, they become grad students, and then they get a fellowship and they stay with their universities. But some of them go and work for corporations. I mean, I think there's two. You know, that's really where scientists reside. Either they're in a school or they're working for a big company or
Exactly.
a company.
Well, I mean, you're kind of proving my point. There's turning
Yeah.
into freeloaders that stay at their college for the rest of their life because they can't make it in the real world. Apparently, they can't get
Well, they keep.
real jobs like construction workers or hookers. I mean, these are these are respected professions out there, and I mean, these people, these so-called academics,
Right.
they can't get their own housing. They just go live in the dorm for the rest of their lives, apparently.
Well, no. They get a fellowship. They get a salary. They get. You know, they can. I don't know. My field of work is not in the sciences, but I respect the sciences, and I'm just amazed at how much we've evolved technologically in the last, let's say, 100 years. I mean, so much has happened in the way of technology. It's so much. We take it. I'm not saying we take it for granted, but we kind of get used to it, you know, every day. But between automobiles and computers and airplanes and just everything is improved in a matter of exponentially. It's just amazing, and you got to figure the scientists behind some of that, most of that, right?
Well, were they? I mean, a lot of things came out of art, right? I mean, let's take your example of the cell phone. Clearly
Right.
ripped off from Star Trek. Do we need a scientist for that? It was obviously the artists that came up with that. So I would say that maybe artists are a step above scientists
Well,
at
they may
this
have
point.
conceptualized it. You know, the futurists could have conceptualized it, but to actually make it real, you need engineers, you need technology to actually make it a reality. You know, it's a whole different thing. So I'm
Shit,
just fascinated by the
did we
whole
get
thing.
kicked off YouTube, guys?
Are we?
I have no idea. I just got a message that the stream has an error. Can you guys hear me still in the chat?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
But I just got where I'm going, so let me disconnect for right now. If I can join back in, I will. I just wanted to say hello to you guys.
On YouTube.
Have a great stream.
Thanks, Omni. It was good having you.
Thank you, guys.
Even though
Yes,
we kind
yes.
of
Even though,
destroyed all your arguments, it was still good to have you here.
where's the professor to stand up for himself?
Well,
Why am I having
exactly.
to
That's
make
what
these
I'm saying.
arguments?
He fears my intellect.
I'm trying to be the voice of reason here. Where is he?
You hear that,
All right, guys.
Professor? Even Omni is wondering where you're at to
Where
defend
are
the
you?
indefensible.
Exactly. All right, guys. I'll see you in a little bit.
See you later, Omni. All right, let's go to the chat real quick so we don't get accused of ignoring people. Mr. Lundell said, "What the fuck? He listed 25 listed scientists. Fine. You know what? Well, we kind of, I mean, you did, but you also didn't, Mr. Lundell. We actually proved that several of those so-called fields you listed aren't actually scientific fields. They're just hobbies. Just because, and Thomas says, just because kids go to STEM doesn't mean they all make it, like boot camp. Exactly. Not really sure which side of the fence Thomas is on how many scientists there are, but he does make a good point. He feels like he's being ignored by Salty Stream. I'm sorry, Thomas. We were in a heated debate about this whole scientist thing. Jay Aldridge says hookers, respectable working class. It is. It's one of the oldest professions, and as we know, that the longer something goes on, the more respect you have to have for it. Thomas says Omni is a Jeff shill. That's a little harsh, but you know I won't argue. And Jay Aldridge says yes. So obviously agreeing with Thomas. Tokyo says should be on in about 20 minutes. And Jeff is eating, Thomas says Jeff is eating green eggs and ham at the moment. It's possible. Or else he's yelling at another guy for not understanding the difference between a browser and a search engine, which I don't think librarians should do. I don't think you should berate someone that's risking their life entering a highly irradiated building and asking questions of a so-called expert, and then the expert just gets angry and just starts berating the person about how stupid they are. I just don't think that's a good business practice. We are Noah was answering. Jay was answering me that we can hear you. Thank you, Jay. I thought for a minute YouTube was trying to silence us and silence the truth like they usually do. So, all right. Let's see. Bird, do you have any other thoughts tonight? Any weird lies or half truths that you've noticed on Discord happening that we can start to talk about as well?
I tend to avoid Discord because it's full of lies.
It usually is. It is.
I'm afraid I don't follow the Discord.
It's a long form of Twitter, I feel like. Just a cesspool of rage and anger for the most part.
I'm going to see if Elon might buy it, clean it up.
We can only hope. I mean, I guess we can call. Well, you know what? I was going to maybe say Elon maybe is a scientist, but probably not. He's more of a philanthropist, I believe.
Yeah. No, he's not a scientist, but I think he's a fan of scientists. Like, he tries probably to hire scientists.
Probably.
So,
I mean, he's got the money to attract them.
Let's face it. Nerdrotic used to work for Elon. Nerdrotic wouldn't claim to be a scientist at all.
No, but he had a comic book store, which
he did.
You know,
it's a lot
directly
of
relates to art that inspires
That's
all these
true.
so-called scientists. So
that's right. Right, scientists are attracted to comic book stores, which are run by people like Nerdrotic, who then get employed by people like Elon Musk. We're
Yeah,
always looking for scientists.
exactly. And he's there clearly to
Finding
inspire these people to come up with things that would actually help Elon reach the stars and colonize Mars.
it's like I can see it now. It's very clear.
Exactly. Welcome to Life with Matthew, Discord of Lies with a crying face. Don't worry, Matthew. It's not. We're discussing specific lies. We're not saying that your Discord is a pure lie in itself. But
It might be.
I'm gonna be honest, Matthew. Jeff is on it more than you. So calling it Life with Matthew is a little bit of a lie, I suppose. Let's see. The closest Thomas knows to a scientist is Elihu and Yvette.
Okay, wait. Yvette is a scientist. So we got to put her down. Now, again, it's a woman,
Again, yes.
and she's quite gifted in her chestal region. Oh, I don't know if you want to count that as two. I would count her as
That's at
two,
least a half
like,
dozen right there.
each. So now Elihu, for the life of me, I don't see how he counts as a scientist. He just labels himself as one.
Right, right.
But where? I mean, I could just say look at me, I'm a doctor. Doesn't mean I am. I'm gonna have a YouTube channel called Dr. Bird. I can tell people, to go to the real doctor or go to a different doctor. I mean, yeah.
Look, I would say that a scientist has to be someone that actually works in science
Mhm.
and does things in science, not just
Their
is able to
paycheck
parrot
needs to
back
be
things that
comes
they read
from
about in
science.
science. I mean, look, I think Elihu's a nice guy. Nothing against him, but I wouldn't call him a scientist. I would call him a science enthusiast.
Yeah, he's he has a backyard telescope.
A hobbyist, if you will.
Yeah.
Jay asked, "Do we call hookers as scientists?" No, hookers are not scientists, um, but they are a respected profession.
Life with Matthew is muting this now. We're starting. What's
Yeah,
he
I don't
studying?
know. I'm very saddened that he doesn't want to hear the truth from both of us.
It's weird. It seems like YouTube is every so often it's timing out for me.
The algorithm is probably attempting to shut us down, to silence us, and to make sure that we
It's
don't.
all those goddamn fake scientists.
Exactly. It's a the 28 scientists out there are forming a boycott group as we speak and are attacking us right now. Jay Aldridge is wondering if professor is called doctor scientist. Oh, you're wondering if professor would call doctor scientist. I think that they're good at quoting what real scientists say, but I don't think doctors are real scientists. No, they're doctors. It's a completely different thing. Life with Matthew is having a meeting with 8.7 million scientists at the moment. There's not, I mean, we still don't have proof, solid empirical evidence, not Ryan Johnson, that there are 8.7 million scientists. And until somebody can literally come up here and name 8.7 million, I think we have to look at that number as suspect and a little bit suspicious and wonder where it's actually coming from. Life with Matthew says, no, just one. I see. And Jay Aldridge agrees with us. Doctors are not scientists. They're in their own classification of doctor. I'm not actually sure what doctors do. Do you understand what doctors do, Bird?
I mean, they just bill you.
Yeah, it just
They
kind of
bill
does
you
seem like
for
what they
things
do.
they may not even have done.
They seem. I mean, okay. So when I've been to one of these so-called doctors' offices, what happens is I'll be talking to a beautiful nurse for most of the time, and then the doctor will usually come in holding a clipboard or a ridiculously large so-called medical text, and basically write a few notes down and then walk out, and then give me a bill. So I'm assuming that they're kind of like waiters at restaurants, and they just kind of make you pay money.
And the nurses are like the hostess.
Yeah, essentially, they're there to keep you comfortable, not worry about things. And they're kind of like the hostesses and maybe even the line cook too, because they seem to be doing most of the work. Well, I guess maybe the line cook would be the lab technician, maybe. Do geography majors count as scientists? Matthew asks.
Why would you even think that?
I mean, that doesn't really make too much sense, Matthew. I mean, if you want to,
Geography?
yeah,
But you major at looking at maps? How is that science? It's like say to do is looking at what pictures my nephew draws
exactly.
makes me a scientist.
Yeah, I mean, I look at maps. I mean, on my GPS, does that make me a scientist? No, absolutely not. Thomas asked if I'm on Top Chat. No, I'm on Live Chat.
I'm on
Um,
Top Chat.
Thomas says Cinnabon has far more subscribers than scientists in the world. I would actually tend to agree, and because I knew this would probably come up today, and the professor would be um, asking me for proof, I will actually show you guys proof right now that hold on, let me share the window here. Here we go. As you can see, I have 7,420,069 subscribers. We lost a few. We used to have 9 million.
Well, that's unmistakable.
I mean,
Chad,
irrefutable
mm,
evidence. I mean, I don't know how anyone could fake that.
congratulations.
So there you go, Professor.
That's
There
more
is
than
the proof you
that's
see.
more than LBG.
I didn't have to pay any money either. It just goes to show
Congrats.
that years of hard work and exceptionally quality content, will
I
get
bet it
you
was
that
all the
kind of.
mahjong.
And yes, Thomas says he looks at a map all the time as well, and he is also not a scientist. So, Matthew, I'm sorry, no, we can't count geography majors as scientists. But good try though. Good try. It's a better try than everyone else in the chat has made. I mean, Mr. Londell was just making up names at one point earlier. Uh, we still don't have solid proof. That's all I'm looking for, guys, is solid proof. Just to prove me wrong. I'm open to being wrong. That's just, who I am. I have extreme humility. Humble to a fault, they say. Sorry, I'm chewing a bite of pizza. I was gonna wait until to stream until after I got done eating, but then I was so angry with the professor and our argument in Discord. It got me so worked up. I just had to come on as soon as possible to debunk these lies. I feel it's my duty to society to make sure that essentially the entire world, because eventually everyone in the entire world will eventually see this live stream. I understand some people are sleeping on the other side of the world right now, so I can forgive them for not being here live. But eventually, when they do watch this, I want them to understand that we've been lied to by probably the patriarchy, most likely the government.
I'm so sorry. I gotta go.
Okay, Vern, have a good night. And probably also Big College that is lying to us that so many that there's more scientists in the world that there actually is, and it really makes me sad that so many people would buy into these scurrilous lies that obviously are perpetuated by the TikTok generation, with their tiny attention spans that just can't focus and critically think for themselves anymore. So I'm glad that everyone would come to me, the voice of reason, the voice of truth, to get the answers that they seek. So I think I was thinking maybe we should probably do something on a regular basis where we talk about different topics that are being falsely portrayed on this so-called internet thing, and get the truth out there. But what do you guys think so far? Have I proven my case, or are you still on the side of the professor? What else should we discuss here? What other points do you think we need to touch on? Otherwise, I think that'll probably be it. But yeah, let's open this up to our chat to see what they have to say. Unfortunately, the chat is going by extremely fast right now with all the viewers that we have here. So if I miss what you type, I'm very sorry. I can't keep up with it. It's going really slow. I do have the chat on extremely slow mode right now, but the messages are just flying by. So you probably want to put @Cinnabon in your message so I see it. Otherwise, it's just going to get lost in a sea of messages of congratulation and, quite frankly, adoration at my incredible intellect. Not Ryan Johnson says a patriarchy is a conspiracy theory created in Kuroga. Notice how Bird ran when Cinnabon mentioned the patriarchy. He didn't want to deal with that topic as God Emperor of Kuroga. And that's possibly true. We don't actually know where the patriarchy was completely started. It may predate Kuroga a little bit, but over time it may have eventually planted its seeds, its roots, if you will, inside of Kuroga. And I'm gonna give Bird the benefit of the doubt that he is fighting the patriarchy and is trying to set everyone free. But that's something one day. That's a topic that maybe one day we'll go try to explore in depth. But it's a little bit beyond the scope of this conversation. I'm not quite prepared for it. Yeah, we have to do a little bit of research to make sure our arguments are on point and are factual. Because, as everyone knows that, has been around me for any length of time, that I am a lover of truth and facts, and that's all you get from me is facts and truth, because I would never want to lead my enormous following astray and to say things that would make them believe anything that's not true, because we have enough of that going on. Especially, like I said, the TikTok generation is poisoning the minds of our children and of our politicians. Um, 1 second, Thomas. Sorry about that. I had to scroll up a little bit. The chat was going way too fast. Um, Thomas asked, "Are you still playing tomorrow night?" Yeah, tomorrow night we can play it. We'll jump into back into some medieval dynasty to continue creating the greatest kingdom on the face of the planet, and hopefully I will be able to find a wife tomorrow too as well. Because I mean, a digital wife, but I mean, kind of the same difference, I guess. Digital, biological. I mean, what? Not really a difference there. But I'm ready to have a family, and I think that a digital wife will work out well. Just because when I'm tired of it, I can just log out, and I think more marriages in the so-called real world could benefit from that kind of arrangement, where you can just log out every now and then and clear your head. Can't be extremely late. Thomas has to get up early on Saturday. It shouldn't be too late. Probably around the same time as today. Um, Maybe a little bit earlier. I just didn't get a start. I just wasn't able to get started till later today because I was busy this afternoon. So yeah, probably aroundish this time. Probably like more around like 5 or so. After Bert gets done with this stream, we'll probably get started. Any other important questions that you would like to ask a scholar about? By scholar, I mean me, of course. I'm happy to answer any questions any of you might have. We can go off the topic of scientists for a little while if that's what you'd like to do, and yeah, we'll just open this up to kind of kind of an AMA type thing, and yeah. Otherwise, if there's nothing else, we'll go and wrap things up for the night. It is all up to you, chat. If Thomas is late to start on my village, we'll do. Jay Aldridge is still fighting me on this topic, apparently. There are probably more Oh, he's not fighting me. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. There are probably more hookers than scientists. That's probably true. We'd have to go and look at the data on that and take and take a look at the take a look at some of the census data that's come out probably to verify those facts. But yeah, next time we're here, we'll take a look and we'll take a deep dive on the strength of hookers in the economy. Bird is back. He apologized. You don't need to apologize. I understand that sometimes you have to take a poop, and we all do it. I do it. You do it. Thomas does it. We all poop. It's okay. Does KK count as a scientist or a hooker? That is a fascinating question. I often sit at night thinking about just that question right there. KK is a genius. She obviously saved Disney, and without her, the movie industry would have collapsed many, many years ago. So I would count her as more of a financial and economic genius, um, and probably one of the best filmmakers. Well, yeah, I'll say she's one of the best filmmakers of all time. I mean, she clearly fixed Star Wars and made it and brought it to the heights it's never been before. Who would have thought, um, growing up in the 80s and 90s, that we would ever see a strong, independent female Jedi? I certainly never did. I didn't think we'd ever see that day. And when I went to see, um, what was the first movie called? Whatever her first Star Wars movie was. Um, I know you're thinking if it was so important, why wouldn't you remember the name? But you have to understand that I've seen every movie that has ever been made, so the titles often get confused. But yeah, I mean, when I stood and applauded when Ray came on screen and erected that lightsaber. I mean, it was magical. So, a movie scientist. Well, can we really say anybody involved in movies are scientists? Though that's the question. I think that's something that we'll have to really explore in depth eventually. Um, I guess for now we could maybe call her a movie scientist because as we kind of established that movies, TV shows, art in general is really what inspires all science. So yeah, I'd say she's a movie scientist. What we can put her, I for now I'll tentatively pencil her in as a scientist. So we have one or two. Still a far cry from the 1 million that was claimed earlier, and the 8.7 million that was the ridiculous number that was claimed earlier as well. But I'll humor the Kathleen Kennedy argument for now. Kathleen Kennedy is more of a librarian. I don't know, Thomas. I mean, can we really insult her like that? I mean, as far as I know, Thomas, we've never heard her shush anybody. That's kind of a librarian thing. So, I mean, I don't think that's fair. We're trying to be fair here tonight. Fair and balanced. All right. But all right, I think we covered a lot of ground tonight, guys. I definitely think we learned a few things. I'm personally grateful that I was able to enrich your lives with the vast knowledge and understanding of the world that I have to share. And I hope that we can do this again sometime because it's always a pleasure to talk with many of you. Some of you, not so much, but we won't name names. Um, but I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but you have to understand that when you're as successful as I am, and you have over 7 million subscribers, you're gonna meet one or two people that just rub you the wrong way. I mean, that's just how it is. That's life, unfortunately. But anyway, um, yeah. So I think hopefully, like I said, we'll make this kind of a regular thing. We'll come on every now and then and just talk about uh, important topics that you all want to talk about, and I can basically do my duty in this world and correct all the misconceptions and just outright falsehoods that you believe, and I can help set you straight on the road to enlightenment. But all right, guys. With that, I think what we're gonna do is go ahead and call it a night. Thank you very much for hanging out, and I will see you guys next time. And remember, we're gonna close this out with some sage advice um, from me because vastly more intelligent than all of you. What I should, I would like to just tell you guys that always be kind to other people, even if they are extremely stupid. Take my example and be patient with them and let them know that they're wrong and always correct them whenever possible. Because if you're not going to, nobody will. Have a good night. Bye bye.